Hello, everybody. My name is Bruce Montgomery, and this is my colleague, Tracy Priest.
Hello, everybody.
And we're with The Road to Retail. On our podcast, Tracy and I hope to offer tips, insights, ideas, and examples for how small, emerging, and challenger CPG, consumer packaged goods, brands can build their business. Everything from determining if you're ready to grow, where to start, how to prove it online, how to go about securing distribution at a national retailer, driving your business with the end consumer, and how to go about finding an investor if that's important to you. The bottom line is, we would love to help you be successful by highlighting the many important factors that go into establishing and growing your brand.
Bruce and I have been working in CPG commercial operations for over 30 years, working on brands of all sizes. By commercial operations, we mean sales, marketing, trade marketing, new product development, broker and distributor management, new product development, brand M&A, and financing. As a part of our show, we bring our guests that are brand founders and leaders, agencies, Amazon specialists, sales agents, contract manufacturers, retailers, and investors to discuss their experiences and share their insights with the audience.
To keep up with the show, please subscribe to the Road to Retail podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. Leave us a review and consider sharing the show with a friend or colleague that may benefit from the content. You can also check out our website to learn more at www.road2retail.com and follow The Road to Retail on LinkedIn. We would love to have you along for the ride. Looking to scale or launch your supplement or skincare brand? Eagle Labs Incorporated, based in Florida, offers full-service NSF-certified contract manufacturing of capsules, tablets, powders, liquids, gummies, and lotions. All of their manufacturing takes place in the USA. From R&D and formulation to packaging and fulfillment, Eagle Labs provides scalable, high-quality production that meets FDA and NSF standards. To learn more, contact Michael Law, Chief Commercial Officer at Eagle Labs at michael.law@eaglelabsinc.com, EAGLELABSINC, Michael Law, eaglelabs.com, or text him at 203-242-6417.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the most recent episode of Road to Retail, where we invite colleagues, friends, and partners in the CPG industry to join us to share their insights into their road to retail. So, Bruce, my colleague and friend, good to see you.
Good morning, Tracy. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. We've got a great episode today. I'm really excited about this one. So, tell our audience who we have today.
We are very fortunate to be joined by Marie Mount, who is the Senior Director of Marketing of SneakPeek, which she will tell us in great detail, but it's a baby gender test. Being a father of four, my wife and I always kind of went back and forth on, did we want to know? And I always said, no, we're going to keep it anyway. But there's a lot of people who like to know. So Marie, welcome to the show. Thanks for your time. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how you landed in your current seat here with SneakPeek and Myriad?
Yes, wonderful. Well, thank you both for having me. So I started my marketing career at Procter & Gamble, and I spent nearly 15 years there across fabric care, healthcare on brands like Pepto-Bismol, Metamucil, and Prilosec. And then I moved to beauty care, focusing primarily on Pantene for about 10 years. Spent a few years in Geneva as an expat doing global roles. And then in 2020, I moved to Myriad Genetics. At the time, I was working on the GeneSight Psychotropic test, which is a B2B product. I then moved to our women's health division, and we acquired the SneakPeek test in late 2022.
Excellent. From Procter to a more of an entrepreneurial setting, but great training. Tracy?
Absolutely. Well, good. Well, let's dive in today. So, Marie, tell us a little bit about our small emerging brand audience just loves to hear the backstory of brands. So tell us the background of SneakPeek and what gap you saw in the market.
Yep, absolutely. So Myriad actually acquired Gateway Genomics, which included the SneakPeek product, in November of 2022. The founder of SneakPeek, Chris Jacob, he founded SneakPeek because his wife was pregnant and they were curious, are we having a boy or a girl? And they wanted to know as early as they could. And so he thought about different ways that he might be able to do this before, differently than had been done before. And there came the SneakPeek test. At launch, it was done at about 8 weeks. And now SneakPeek can tell you if you're having a boy or a girl as early as 6 weeks of pregnancy.
Wow, that's awesome. So did you guys do any kind of consumer research or anything like that first?
We did. So, we looked at how many people want to know the sex of their baby before they arrive, and it's over 80% of people want to know if they're having a boy or a girl. So we knew that it was a mass need, and the solutions that were available were later in pregnancy. So we also learned that a lot of people wanted to know as early as they could, and that they were motivated by starting to bond with their baby, starting to plan and prepare for their baby, starting to think about names for their baby. So the consumer research we did was both qualitative and quantitative to validate this is a big need and it's an emotional need.
Right. And then what made SneakPeek so attractive to Myriad as they looked at making that acquisition?
Yeah, so Myriad Genetics has a reproductive genetics portfolio. So there's two other products. Currently, the Foresight carrier screen, which can be done before pregnancy or during pregnancy, and a prequel non-invasive screen, which is done as early as 8 weeks of pregnancy. And as we looked at what SneakPeek was doing, SneakPeek was entering people into the genetic testing realm in a friendly way and in a way that bonded with them. And so we believed that by acquiring SneakPeek, we would be able to start that genetic conversation with consumers earlier.
Oh, that's awesome. Love to hear that.
So Marie, you talked about this a little bit, but in any competitive category, especially one that's, as you just said, super emotional, probably a little bit expensive and kind of important to get the right answer. Differentiation in any category, whether it's cookies or gender reveal, is critical. Can you speak to your brand's meaningful point of difference and how you compared to the other products that might have been out there when your founder said, "Man, there's got to be a better way"?
Yep. So there's two ways. So one is there were some urine-based tests. And what we know is that the blood-based tests have significant accuracy and data behind them. And then the other one is actually through the prenatal, non-invasive prenatal screening that I had mentioned earlier, you can also find out the sex of your baby, but that's done in a medical setting, that's done later in pregnancy. And so points of differentiation really are around accuracy and earliness in pregnancy.
Interesting. And just to be clear, since thankfully I'm out of the baby business, is SneakPeek solely gender reveal, or does it offer any other? I know Myriad does, but does the SneakPeek test offer any other genetic information to the parents to be, or is it just boy girl?
Only boy girl. So SneakPeek is completely focused on, are you predicted to be having a boy or a girl?
Okay. And before we press on, I know you mentioned a couple of the other products in there in Myriad's reproductive portfolio. Is there anything else you'd like to say about those? I know we're here to talk SneakPeek.
I think the biggest thing is that there's just so much information that people can learn. And, sometimes it can feel scary to want to learn it. But once you understand, like, here's what I can learn from genetic testing, through my provider with my partner to understand my baby better, it's typically a place of reassurance.
Great. Thank you. Trace?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Marie, let's talk a little bit about retail since we're on the Road to Retail podcast today. So tell us, the audience, a little bit about what signs you saw early on that said, hey, you know what, we're ready to go to brick and mortar.
Yep. So a couple of things happened. So in some of this did happen ahead of the Myriad acquisition, but as the brands.com presence and business continued to grow, and as the Amazon business continued to grow, we realized that we had reached the point where we could bring this to retail. So a couple of things. We talked to our consumers. So, and understood, hey, this would be great if I could buy it on shelf, like soon after I find out that I'm pregnant, and I don't have to wait for the product to ship to me. We also validated that actually people wanting to know the sex of their baby before birth was growing. And we knew that we had a product that had really good reviews that people were talking about. And so then we started the conversation with retailers to highlight that this is a different incremental purchase than what's available in the stores today, and to showcase what was happening in our .com landscape.
That's great. That's great. And kind of a follow-up to that. So how do you position the SneakPeek brand to retailers, and why do they tell us, a little bit about why they would want to carry it?
Yep. So the primary positioning is that, again, over 80% of people want to know the sex of the baby. Once they've come in, purchased the pregnancy test, and it's positive, there was not a way for them to find out the sex of the baby through retail before. And so this brings in an incremental purchase, something that the majority of people that get a positive pregnancy test are interested in. And it's also, it has a $30 shelf price plus a lab fee. But when you think about the $30 shelf price, it fits within that family planning price point.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. So just for our audience, I want to highlight something that Marie said that was great. It was incremental to the category. It had a differentiation. There wasn't anything like it. All the things, right, Bruce, that buyers love.
Yep. And one other thing, and then we're going to jump into something else that's been very consistent across our guests talking about their products. The other thing was pricing. Marie said that the pricing was still within the realm of not causing a heart attack from the consumer when they saw it at the shelf. So a unique product answering a critical question for the parents to be at a price that was not like, what? And also that price is also still in the ballpark where, depending on the retailer, it's not going to be behind the plexiglass locked and guarded by an armed guard. So it's not a unusual shopping experience. So Marie, talk to us a little bit about the packaging changes that you and your team explored and executed as you moved from kind of a DTC brand, where in that environment, maybe it's more, hey, someone will spend 5 minutes and read your box and your website and testimonials, but you're in the store, man. You're on a time frame. You got to go. You might already have one kid in the basket who's screaming at you because they're hungry. Talk to us about the packaging changes you made and what led you to this new design.
Yeah, so we actually had a launch pack from about a year ago, and I'm going to talk about that, and then I'm going to talk about where we're going, because so as we launched into retail, we knew that we didn't have the broad awareness that we were going to need to, for people to be searching for us. So we knew we needed to stand out on shelf, like within the context of pregnancy tests and ovulation kits. And so at launch, we made the decision to launch with a bright yellow box. Bright yellow box, very clear that it's an early gender test, very clearly marked with symbols around boy and girl, so that people could quickly understand what this was. The other thing that yellow box did for us is any of our in-store advertising, people knew exactly what they were looking for. So it was differentiated. It clearly stood out. Now, as we've been able to increase the awareness of the product and become more of an omni-channel, we're transitioning from that yellow box into a new look and feel that really highlights the S of the SneakPeek. It still calls to life the category, but it's the next generation. So we're already ready for our packaging to grow up a little bit and bring to life the equity of the brand. So at launch, super critical that people would see us and find us, knowing we didn't yet have the broad awareness. As we've built more of that awareness, we still have a ways to go. We're growing up the packaging so that it stands out, but it also communicates the trust and efficacy that we know we needed to.
That's great. So Marie, you touched on this a little bit, but what is the role of your packaging aside from, clarity? And I'm looking at the current package on the other screen here.
Yep.
What is the role of the current packaging in terms of helping to establish this new subcategory at retail with buyers, so that they're like, Marie, we sell like 5,000 SKUs in this store. How are people going to find yours?
Yep. I think so. I think a couple of things. I think within the aisle, the color, the pop at shelf, which we've proven that our grown-up packaging does as well. But the other thing is just the clarity of priority of communication. Like the category needs to be super clear. We don't want anyone picking this up and thinking, oh, it's a new pregnancy test brand or a new ovulation brand. So making sure category is super clear, making sure it established trust and efficacy. And then the other piece is this product does require a consumer to collect a blood sample and then send it to our lab. And so making sure that that is clear, that people aren't expecting that they're going to go home, do something and find out within 15 minutes if they're having a boy or a girl. It's a couple of days.
Right. Got it. So I'm going to take a shot here, Marie. Any chance you have a mock-up of the new package you could reveal here?
So I wish I was at home. I am in a hotel room on a business trip, but it is coming within the next month or so. So I can make sure I get the episode notes updated with it.
All right. Well, I had to take a shot. Tracy?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's continue a little bit about Marie, about the packaging. So tell our audience a little bit about the insights from consumers, retailers, and your agency, and how did you use those insights to develop the packaging?
Yep. So I'm going to talk about both rounds of the packaging, if that's okay. So,
Please.
That first packaging, the yellow packaging, we used the insights across the board, like our own knowing that awareness was a challenge, but also the retailers knowing that we're bringing a new category to life, and the agency thinking about doing that. We knew that it needed to pop. And so we made, a choice on the yellow, and we did some iterative testing to confirm again that it popped. It was clear what it was. People understood that they would have to send a sample away. People believed that it was trustworthy. That all worked. And then as we looked for the next packaging, it actually started with refreshing the brand. So as we worked with our agency, Little Big Brands, for the SneakPeek product, we went back to what are the consumer insights? What are these deep insights about what that moment that you're finding out if you have a boy or you're expecting a boy or a girl means to you? What might that mean for the next 5 years? What kind of name? How are you going to decorate the nursery? What are all of those emotional things that are happening as you learn that? And from there, we set up what's the new brand, what's the new tone, the look and feel, the new logo, and then iterated on the packaging from there. So the new front of pack, which you'll eventually see, is just very clear on bringing that new brand to life. And then we did consumer testing. So we wanted to make sure to test two things from a consumer standpoint. We wanted to make sure shelf visibility wasn't lost too much, because again, going from bright yellow to more of a white with color on it, we expected that we might lose some. The great news was we actually didn't lose any, and we won on shelf pop with that new packaging. And it's cleaner, crisper, and people told us on the equity markers that we wanted to win for that the new packaging was winning. I just packed a lot in there. So any follow-up questions from what I shared?
No, that was really
No, but just to build on, we've had a lot of guests, folks, that have been all saying the same thing about the importance of your package. So your product might work great, taste great, give you shiny hair, fill it in. But if people can't find it, that's a problem. And in our Scott Emerson episode, Scott said that after all of his years in this business, he said if a new launch is struggling, he said the first thing they'll look at is the package. And that's been reiterated by subsequent guests. And now Marie's driving home. Your package is your 24/7, 365 salesperson. And if you are hard to find on the shelf, guess what? You are hard to find on the shelf. And that's going to be a problem. So Marie, before we kick it back to Tracy, I was wondering, when you were going through all this consumer work, aside from possibly the incremental euphoria of finding out you're pregnant and boy, girl, did you guys look into any imagery of sheer terror, especially with first baby?
I have to admit that we did not. However, we do have the consumer understanding of what's that feeling when you get the positive pregnancy test? And, how many people are in that elated moment? How many people are in the sheer terror moment? And we do make sure that from a tone and a content standpoint, holistically, that we're speaking to all of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a mix of emotions. I mean, you're so happy, and then you're like, oh my God. am I really capable of being a parent? My children would say the jury's still out, but we're working on it. So Marie, when you guys moved the brand from DTC and then working with brick and mortar retailers, I don't want to say challenges, but what were some of the issues you had to work through? Maybe they're positive, maybe they're negative, but it's definitely a different breed of cat. Shipping, inventory, all that.
Yep. So the good news is I think as we think about like shipping and inventory, because of the way that the business had been run, a single product or a single brand, because we do have another blood collection kit that's available online only. But as we think about single brand with a few SKUs, we were set up well from a product supply chain to integrate this new retail piece. I think where the challenge really came is making sure that we were ready from a marketing and sales standpoint to go from .com to omni-channel. When you from a marketing standpoint are able to every day see, oh, my paid search is working, my paid social is working, this many people are buying, to then thinking about broadening and going to more upper funnel tactics and driving awareness and not being able to read it every day, I think that's where the biggest challenge has come in for us right now.
And that's a big one because a lot of times, the report card, with the exception of Walmart when they had Retail Link and now it's called Luminate, a lot of times the marketing team gets graded every 4 weeks when the data comes out, right? So it is tough, especially when you launch. Tracy?
Yeah. So Marie, let's talk about marketing and talk to our audience a little bit about the marketing tactics that you use to build, trial and awareness of the SneakPeek brand. And then how do you evaluate, those tactics and if they're really working or not?
Yep, there's so much great stuff in there. And so a couple of things. As we move from DTC to retail, like we are absolutely expanding our marketing tools and we're still in that expansion process, frankly. As we started, like we were primarily search, social, influencers. Some of the things that I'm excited that we've expanded into are earned and sponsored media content, and seeing that pickup and seeing where people see the natural fit to talk about SneakPeek and the moment of finding out the sex of your baby through some of our earned media outreach. We are piloting broad upper funnel awareness tools. We had a CTV pilot in a few markets that we learned a lot from. We're in the process but on the flip side, we are still in the process of optimizing the measurement across channels. So it is a challenge. Like we will do so one great thing about SneakPeek, even the people who purchase us in retail have to engage with us. So what happens if you purchase in retail, you buy the SneakPeek kit, you then register the kit online, pay an additional laboratory fee, collect your sample, send it to us, and then we notify you of your results, in a very celebratory way. I make it sound very like business, but it is very celebratory. Find out if you're having a boy or a girl. But because of that, we are then able to go back to these people. And so we continue to survey them and ask, how did you find out about us? And, what have you done since? Have you told people about it? And so we're measuring things that way to understand, like, okay, you purchased it, you've activated your kit. Where'd you hear about us? Like, did you just find us in store? Did you hear about us from an influencer? So that's one smart measurement tool that we've been able to do. But beyond that, we're still in the early phases of being able to truly measure our upper funnel tactics.
Right. What I love is though that your approach is allowing you to engage with the customer, not just at the point of purchase, but then you've got a whole process that you're following along with. I see a lot also on social media, these very big, elaborate gender reveals now with balloons and cakes and all kinds of crazy stuff. So have you ever thought about how to play off that as well?
We have. And so there's a couple of fun things. One, through our consumer insights. So there's the group of people that want to do that, right? They want to celebrate big, et cetera. And then there's a group of people that are like, I just want to do this on a date night with my husband. Like we get the email and then we open it together, or just, with my spouse and, our and the future grandparents or whatever. And so that's been really fun to understand of like, what are the different ways people are doing these gender reveals? And then what might the role of SneakPeek be? To celebrate our millionth test, we actually did like a sweepstakes, and we outfitted someone's nursery. So we knew that they had already purchased SneakPeek, et cetera, et cetera. And so the person that won got a large gift card to outfit her nursery.
Oh, that's a great idea.
That is a great idea. So, Maurice, next topic is a little less sexy than gender reveal and the excitement of baby, but important to a company. What's your counsel to these emerging brand, founders and leaders that Tracy and I try to help all the time? What should they be aware of when they start taking on investors?
So because I was on the side of the acquiring company, the things that were important for me as we went through the process was really understanding the consumer need and business opportunity that you're walking into or that you're pitching. So, the fact that so many people, and I was one of them, so I was bought in immediately, but want to know the sex of their baby as soon as they could. That was telling. The fact that the market was ripe because there's a true differentiation of delivering this earlier and accurately. I think the other piece, and this is if you're expanding the category, if you're starting a new category, not expanding one. When you're starting a new category, like what is that incremental sale? Who is that consumer? And what's that going to mean from an investment standpoint, to showcase how much you can grow?
Yeah. That's fantastic. Great insight. Bruce, did you have a follow-up? I know you're
I was just jotting down a couple of notes there. Marie, did you guys have any kind of I don't want to say elaborate, but a couple of key points financially you were looking for that, margin had to be this, the brand had to have at least X amount of sales to prove that there was traction there? Or did you guys just latch on to the insight and the intellectual property and say, we can take it from here?
That's a great question. So I can answer from my point of view. There wasn't a separate financial due diligence that was done. When I looked at it from the marketing standpoint of, is this going to be an acquisition that would be worthy for Myriad? I looked at, consumer need, significant growth, and the understanding that the growth could continue. So, I looked at what is that total market of consumers every year that are having babies, right? How many are we getting right now? How many more do we believe we could get? And what had that growth curve been? When you talk about the financial model of margin, P&L, et cetera, that due diligence was done by our financial team. But of course, they were looking at, what is the P&L? And as we think about growing this, can we continue to see value there?
Right. No, I think that's very interesting. It also shows a very disciplined approach that your due diligence team, you guys kind of had experts going through each part of the business. So that's great. Yep. Tracy?
Absolutely. So we're rounding third and heading home, as Bruce says. So talk to us about who's been the greatest influence on your career and why.
Yep. It's okay. I have two women that I'd love to talk about. So one, and I'll name them, Joanna Zucker was my very first brand manager at P&G. And she taught me so much during our time together from a business standpoint, what are the fundamentals? How to think about getting feedback from her, how to think about managing agencies. And then she continued to stay a mentor and friend all of these years. And so even as I was leaving P&G, we had conversations about, hey, what do I think about for my career? So she's one. The second is my current manager, Melissa Gonzalez. So she's currently president of women's health at Myriad. And for the past 3.5 years, we have worked so closely together. And she has taught me about, as my team has expanded and as my span of control has expanded, how to prioritize, be disciplined. And importantly, the reason I wanted to bring up too is as I think about SneakPeek, Melissa was integral. And how do we integrate the team in a way that we continue the growth that we would like to see?
That's great.
Excellent. All right, Marie, the most important question that the audience loves. So what or who is your favorite sports team, band, or brand, and why do you support them and enjoy it?
Yep. Okay. I've been debating this one, but I'll say one of my most favorite brands is actually Blue Apron. So it's an at-home like dinner delivery service. I have been using Blue Apron for years. I can't even tell you how many years, but I know that my grocery shopping is done for dinner. All four of us in my family are going to eat great dinners, different things every day, and they just make it easy. And when something goes wrong, their customer service is there immediately.
That's fantastic. We've tried them as well, and I can echo your points. All right, Marie. So how can people get in touch with you and to contact you or learn more about SneakPeek? What's your preferred contact info if you don't mind giving it out?
I don't mind at all. So first and foremost, for SneakPeek, the sneakpeektest.com is going to have the best information for you. But for me specifically, you can easily find me on LinkedIn.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. All right, Tracy, the big finish with Marie here,
Well,
please.
first of all, Marie, you have been great. Such great insight, and what an exciting product, and what a great opportunity to work on that. And we wish you the best of luck with the brand and your future endeavors and the new packaging. All very, very exciting stuff going on in your life these days. So we love that. So, audience, thanks for joining us today. Thanks, Marie. And please continue to follow us on Spotify, on Apple. We post our podcast every Tuesday. We also are on LinkedIn, and then our website, which is www.road2retail. There's some great information on there. So check us out there as well. So thanks again, audience, for joining us. And thank you so much, Marie, for today's time.
Good luck out there, folks.